Hey guys, welcome back to Phil's Corner and welcome to the start of a slightly new series. You've probably seen a few of my what I'm buying videos over the past few months, but this is the first what you're buying. This video is all about the shirts that people in the community have been buying, and I asked for submissions for my what I'm buying video previously, but I had so many that I wanted to do a separate video. And I wanted to basically just take some unhurried time to go through all the shirts that you guys sent in, to talk about the pickups that I especially like, and just enjoy looking at some great shirts with you guys together. We're also going to have a Q&A. I promised I'd do this a few weeks ago, so I'll answer some of your comments on a previous video. Before we get going, I will ask you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm sure many of you are subscribers, or maybe you've just been watching videos and you've forgotten to subscribe. It really does help the channel so much, so make sure you are a subscriber, and also if you enjoy the video, please leave a like as well. That really would be appreciated. So let's start with a bit of a Q&A. These are some comments that were left on a previous video. I'll answer them as we start. Let's start with Graham, who says, "Good content, thank you Graham." And he says, "Would like to know your thoughts on whether shirts should be worn or kept in mint condition. Also, do you prefer shirts with name and number printed?" So a couple of questions here from Graham. Firstly, about whether a shirt should be worn or kept in mint condition. This is a really interesting question because I think you will get different answers from different people because it is quite a personal thing. For many people, collecting shirts is all about buying them to wear them to work, maybe if you're allowed to wear shirts at work, or just around the house, whatever it may be. Many people go along the approach of buying a shirt and they'd only buy it in their size and then buy it to wear it, whether it's a player issue shirt, a player spec shirt, or an old vintage shirt that's pretty battered. And there's no right or wrong here. I think that approach is great, it makes a lot of sense. It goes without saying that a shirt that has been worn will typically be worth a little bit less, although what I would say is that the drop off isn't that significant. It's not like a car when you drive it off from the showroom and it immediately halves in value or something like that. A shirt without tags isn't necessarily going to lose that much value. It will lose a bit, but not that much. So of course that approach makes a lot of sense, and that's one thing which is great about shirts, which appeals to many people about shirts. You can actually wear them, you can pair them with an outfit, take them on a night out, wear them to a restaurant maybe, even whatever it may be. There's something really fun about that, and showing off some of those really high value shirts perhaps. Other collectors take a much more cautious approach in that they'll buy a shirt, they'll maybe photograph it, and then they'll store it and keep it away and keep it in as good condition as possible. And I'm actually a bit like that. I do wear some of my shirts, but I'd say probably 80% of my collection, maybe a bit more, is stored away. I keep it safe in a box, in a plastic wallet, and I've talked about that before, about how I go about that process. I'll show some pictures. I do this for a couple of reasons. One, because I just don't always buy shirts in my size, so I wouldn't necessarily be able to wear them very easily. And also I quite enjoy the process of buying a shirt, photographing it, and then sometimes even selling it on. And I talked about this at length in my what I'm buying video just recently, so you can go and check that out if you want to hear more about that. So for me, I often don't wear shirts, and that's just my approach. I don't think that's better or worse. And even though I do sell a lot of my collection, I don't always make a profit. It's not really necessarily a very profitable hobby. I mean, it can be if you really do spend a lot of time with it, but at the end of the day, I don't do it to make the most money I can. It's just the way I go about collecting. I quite enjoy owning a shirt, and to me, having a shirt, even if I don't wear it, is still enjoyable. But that's just me, and this is a big topic. I probably could spend a lot more time talking about this. It's a really good question though, Graham. And on your follow-up question about names and numbers, I think in this question, again, it is quite personal. Some people quite enjoy a name set, and I personally really enjoy particularly club-specific name sets which are bespoke to the team, which has been designed solely for a club or a nation. I think that's really exciting. League-wide typefaces are also great, but I think I do look out for those kind of quirky, interesting, unique fonts personally. One thing just to note with name sets, of course, there's always the risk of a player transferring away after you get a name set. And I can't think of the account's name, but there was a really funny account of a guy who had bought a couple of shirts. I think it was a Lukaku shirt before he went from Inter to Chelsea, although he's gone back now, of course. But there was all sorts of instances of people who had bought a shirt, had it printed, and then the player transferred out. That is a bit of a risk. And there's things like that which you have to be aware of with name sets. I don't think the value is necessarily much different. Some people charge much more, and some sites do charge a lot more for personalised shirts. So yeah, no right or wrong here when it comes to name sets. It's just one of those things where you can customize your collecting journey, your collecting experience. Maybe you can collect name sets, or maybe you just ignore them. It's great either way. Got a really interesting question from John Carl, who says, do you think the MLS model of keeping a shirt for 2 seasons, only releasing one new shirt per team, alternating home and away, could actually encourage fans to buy more shirts for the team they support? He goes on to say, right now I believe that releasing 3 shirts a season makes it too expensive for supporters to keep up, which discourages sales. I think the MLS model is really interesting, John Carl, and a lot of people do bring it up when talking about things like keeping shirts for multiple seasons, which has become now a bit of a thing again, with the likes of Brentford keeping their home shirt, and there's been other teams. It's kind of all of a sudden in the last couple of years, or the last year even, teams are starting to revisit this idea, which of course was the norm not so long ago. So I think it's something to really track in the industry at the moment, and I would definitely see the merits of that. And you mentioned about whether fans might buy more shirts. I would be so interested to get some data to look at things like how often fans buy shirts for their team. Now my assumption would be that actually many people do buy a shirt every year because it's their team shirt. And I would imagine this would differ across fan bases, of course, and across countries and stuff like that, but it'd be really interesting, because I wonder whether my assumption is true. Maybe my assumptions aren't true. Maybe actually a lot of fans aren't buying shirts every year. I don't know how you could even get that data. It would be quite hard, because unless you were tracking things like purchase history and stuff like that, obviously the data wouldn't be as useful. But anyway, I think it's notable that a few clubs now are starting to keep shirts again. Now there's different reasons for that. It could be even related to supply chain issues, or even sustainability concerns. But anyway, regardless, it's a really interesting topic, and I would expect more clubs to adopt the idea of keeping a shirt for more than 1 season. Again, it's no surprise that it's suddenly become a thing, and like a lot of stuff in life, as soon as you see someone else doing something, you kind of look over your shoulder and think, oh, we could be doing the same. And now brands will undoubtedly be looking to try and get a bit of positive PR, because if you keep a shirt for more than 1 season, actually it would go down well with the fans. Just look at the Brentford announcement last year and how well that went down with the fans. Even though the shirt is nothing particularly special, but there were a lot of fans who really commended them for it. So really interesting idea, John Cole. I would definitely say we'll see more clubs doing this sort of thing, and I think generally speaking it would be positive, even though I would assume that many fans do just buy a new shirt because it's there, despite how expensive they are. And I think you could look at the rising cost in shirts to realise that brands are ultimately taking advantage of that loyalty where fans do buy a new shirt every year. Interesting topic, probably deserves its own video again, but thanks for the question. Johnny asks, is there a specific website, or how does someone go about buying authentic or authentic replica kits from the past? Any help would be much appreciated. Johnny, this is a great question. There are so many places you can buy football shirts. From your big retailers like classic football shirts, cult kits, vintage football kits, sites that have a lot of stock and a lot of choice when it comes to shirts. These big retailers don't tend to be the best value unless you get something like a sale, but they do offer a wide range. But you've also got marketplaces like eBay and Vinted and Depop. These do come with a caveat that there will be chances on here who will be selling fakes, but actually there are a lot of bargains to be found. If you are quite keen on a bargain, and maybe you're someone who doesn't really want to collect too specific a type of shirt, or collect from certain clubs and things like that, eBay is a great place to go. And I have a series on this channel where I go and shop on eBay every week, so you can go and check a load of videos, and there's been some really good purchases over the months that we've done that. One of my favourite ways is just to get shirts from other collectors, so whether that's through Twitter or even trading shirts. And this is one thing I absolutely love, and I'm probably going to be doing a video on this soon actually about trading, because I think for me it is one of the best aspects about collecting, when you can particularly find someone who's in another country from you and you can swap shirts. I think it's one thing which really should be done more in the community, and I think there's something quite special about that. There's a very personal touch when you're sharing with another collector, and maybe you send a shirt from your local team and they do the same thing, and you'd never otherwise be able to get that shirt. So yeah, a few ideas there. There's many more ways to go about it, but I particularly like eBay and trading. I do still shop at the big retailers, but I do enjoy the more kind of slow approach of just looking around, and if you see a bargain or you see a shirt that you want to trade for, go for it, add to your collection that way. Yeah, there's some ideas. there's many more places. I'm sure people in the comments can help out with some other suggestions too. But it's a good question, Johnny. All the best on your collecting journey. We've got a question here from Middleman Football, who simply asks, do you have any Scottish club jerseys in your collection? And the funny thing is, Middleman, I don't think I do currently. I've had various shirts over the years that have kind of come through my hands, some Celtic shirts, some Hearts shirts. But I would love to maybe go through and look at some of the older Scottish club shirts. And I think of a team like Dundee United who had some really nice kits, and particularly back in the day. I really enjoy that tangerine and black, orange and black colour scheme. So I think if I could choose, I don't have a Scottish team, if I could choose a team to maybe start picking a few things off, something like Dundee United or Hearts. I do quite like Hearts kits. Obviously with Celtic and Rangers you've got a great back catalogue, and there's loads of other clubs. But yeah, thanks for your comment, Middleman. And the final question here from Adam, who says, what is your favourite shirt in claret and blue? Maybe it's a bit of an obvious answer given my associations, but I absolutely love Aston Villa's Hummel kit from the 80s, which is in the style of a Denmark 86. And again, because I work with Hummel and they're one of my favourites, if not my favourite manufacturer, that one just immediately sprung to mind. I'm not a Villa fan or anything like that, but just seeing that famous Denmark template in those colours was so fun, and that shirt is just the absolute pinnacle of that colourway. But it's a good question, and people often ask me kind of my favourite shirt in a combination. Sometimes a shirt springs to mind immediately, and then weeks later something else pops into mind. So it's quite possible I'll come back to you, Adam, in a future video with another suggestion. But thank you so much for these comments, and I just want to say, guys, as well, leave a comment on this video, and in a future video, maybe the next What You're Buying video or another kind of classic Phil's Corner episode, leave a comment, ask me anything. It could be about collecting like we've had today, or my favourite shirts of a particular league or colourway or anything like that. Leave a comment and I'll get back to a selection of them in a future video. But now let's come to the main part of today's video, which is the shirts that you're buying. And I'm just going to simply go through my replies on Twitter. I'll obviously show you the tweets and the pictures on the screen and just talk about the shirts. I don't think there's much more to it than that. If you're like me, there's something really fun just about seeing people's pickups and their shirts, which I'd never collect personally or never be able to afford really personally. But it's just so fun for me looking through these shirts. Hopefully this is interesting to you too. So from the top we have the Shirt Union, who picked up the fantastic England women's away. Great to see that shot of the crest. And even though England didn't wear this shirt in the tournament, it is still a really nice design. I think it is very strong. Of course, the home is equally great, maybe even better. Also, Football Shirt Italia coming in with a couple of great pickups. Firstly, the Alessandria shirt. And this is a funny one because the design here, the pattern here, is the infamous T-Row 19 design from Adidas, which was often quite ugly in a lot of colorways. In this example, it actually looks pretty good. It doesn't really get in the way. It just gives a bit of depth and texture to that body. But the colorway is always really interesting with the green, that quite deep green, and the gold, the white shoulders. And Adrian is a big Roma fan, has also picked up this season's Roma shirt. I really like this one. And even though the one button thing isn't to personal taste, I think New Balance are actually looking really good with Roma. I especially love the away shirt. That is sneakily, I think, one of my favourite shirts of Serie A this year. But the home is great as well. A couple of great shirts from Football Shirt Italia, and Forbidden Football Shirts coming in with a range of shirts. So we've got some pre-match shirts here for England, quite notably, and that pre-match shirt I think was very popular. Given the win again, it's one of those just very collectible. Great to see the Ajax away shirt, and I think this one is really strong. It hasn't had nearly the same amount of hype as the Bob Marley shirt, but I do think it looks great. And I saw this one again recently, and actually I think even though we've seen it for quite a few months after the early release from Sports Direct, I think this one will stand the test of time. Great Palermo shirt there. I mean, this PSG shirt is probably the star of the show. This is such a strong design with the Eiffel Tower. The way it starts at the top by the crest there, as if it's going to be a sash, and when it splits out to form an abstract Eiffel Tower. It's a really great design, and the open collar, it's a very stylish shirt. And some more pre-match goodness from the likes of Dortmund and PSG. Some great pickups here from Pedro. We've got a shirt from FC Ingolstadt, Hansa Rostock, Paderborn, and Pedro's club, Spurs. Just on that Spurs shirt, I think the Under Armour Spurs era was really interesting. Under Armour, of course, haven't really featured a lot, apart from stints with the likes of Spurs and Southampton more recently. But I think a lot of their kits actually are quite collectible, quite interesting, not only because they are a bit niche, being an Under Armour shirt, but I think even from a design perspective, some of the Spurs shirts in particular were really good fun. And I think this is one of the strongest ones. It's half and half, the black and a grey, a very steely grey there. Great shirt to pick up, and indeed the other shirts as well. The Hansa Rostock one is really good with Erema, a brand you aren't really around much either. Here we have Cornish shirt collector flying in with some really special pickups. It starts strong with a red start, 90s kit and that wonderful Kappa sleeve taping. But then we've got a couple of match-worn shirts, a few match-worn shirts. Firstly, Jorginho from what looks like a World Cup qualifier. Then a Fiorentina Vlahovic shirt with a special 50th Scudetto anniversary patch, so that's great to see. And then an outrageous purchase, a 1968 Colin Bell shirt, the Manchester City legend Colin Bell. This shirt, I think, is it like a Football League kind of All-Stars team? I'm not sure. I think that's what it is. But really good to see some match-worn shirts here. And Cornish shirt has captured some of the best things about match-worn shirts. When you've got things like special patches or a shirt which you know it's from a specific game, that's so fun. And that's something which is quite exciting as a collector. Of course, this is kind of the top end of the market we're talking about here. But I really like if you do pick up a match-worn shirt and you can, again, trace it to a game, and maybe you can get photos of a game and you can say, that's my shirt. That's very special. That's quite a rare thing which not many people can say. So really good stuff from Cornish shirt collector. Chester, a big Marseille fan, has a trio of Marseille shirts. We've got a match prepared / worn shirt from the early noughties from the 2000-2001 season. That looks really nice. We've got Marseille's current home shirt, which is a little bit underwhelming in my opinion. But then the 2013 third shirt in player spec, full motion spec to be specific. And I've said many times on the channel, this era where you had tech fit and full motion was so interesting. And if you ever pick up a shirt from this era, I would really recommend trying to get a full motion or tech fit shirt and just feeling them. It was such a good era for Adidas. Adidas had kind of looked down a lot in the modern game, but in that kind of early 10s period, they were one of the best, and they really were pushing forward in terms of technology. So great stuff, thank you Chester. Alex Ireland, or Wonder Kits, with a great trio of 90s Bundesliga shirts. You don't need me to tell you about that rainbow VfL Bochum shirt, wonderful stuff. Also got JC football shirts, who has a fantastic design. This is really nostalgic for me, seeing this PSG shirt with Ronaldinho in the back. Ronaldinho's brief stint at PSG. I can't think of which FIFA it was, but there was a FIFA which the intro featured Ronaldinho scoring a free kick, I think, for PSG. And that, for some reason, just sticks in my mind. But again, really fun to see that. And I think this is an example. We talked about name sets in the Q&A. This is an example where the name set adds so much. In a lot of cases, name sets don't really necessarily add a lot to a kit, but I think in this example it does add a lot, because otherwise the PSG team, they had a few other good players, don't get me wrong, but I think having a legend like Ronaldinho on the back adds a lot of value and a lot of excitement, I think, to that kit. So that's really good stuff. Dan from Retro Football Shirts, I really like this, of course, because we've got my magazine in there, my magazine More Than the Shirt, stuck on top of the AC Milan third shirt. So that's great, Dan. Appreciate your support again with that magazine pick up, and it's good to see that with the shirt there. Sam from Stompage Time winner, really strong Newcastle shirt. I absolutely love this Newcastle design. A crazy colourway, really. When you look at those colours together, the navy and then the kind of teal turquoisey colour with the orange, really unusual. A really good pickup. The kit spire flying in with the same Ajax shirt we looked at previously, and the Athletic Bilbao away shirt. And this is one of the top shirts of the year for me personally. It's one I'd definitely like to pick up. So really good to see that in a collection already. That pattern really pops off the base. I think it looks really good there. And another new shirt with the Real third shirt. So a few new shirts there from the kit spire. For something a little bit older, we've got another match-worn shirt. And this comes from Tottenham Hotspur match-worn shirt, so that's how I know it's match-worn. Looking at the details, we can see here, this is from the Worthington Cup final, the League Cup final in 2002. Really special to get a shirt from a final. I mean, this again builds on the conversation we were having about match-worn shirts previously. To get a shirt from a final is incredible, so that is a great pickup. And it's really exciting to see these shirts. Again, this is why I kind of wanted to do this, because we can talk about shirts like this. These aren't the kind of shirts that you can just pick up any day of the week. So great to see that with the long sleeves. There's some real heat here from Sai from Nomad Football. The Ilwa Chunma shirt, which is the first one of this four, which I'll show you on screen. an incredible Adidas design. The funny thing about this is probably the most kind of Hummel Adidas design I've ever seen. There's a load of chevrons on this design, but an incredible colorway. The badge, the crest is also just stunning. So that's a real holy grail type purchase. And the other shirts as well, which I picked up, were great too. I've got the likes of Flamengo, Foggia, a really nice Adidas design there, and Kaiser Chiefs. And I believe Sai has a good Kaiser Chiefs collection as well from what I've seen. A really nice shirt from Kappa. And I love the old school Kaiser Chiefs crest. And that collar is amazing too. So really, really good stuff. Some great stuff here from Football Kit Connoisseur. We've got the Modern Classic Italy third shirt from a couple of years ago. I say Modern Classic because it really was one of the most popular shirts of recent memory, certainly on the international scene. But we've got the new Palace. Is that the away or third? I think that's the third, if I'm right in saying. A recent Fluminense shirt and a new Celtic shirt. So a couple of new shirts there. Really good to see the Celtic in long sleeves there for Football Kit Connoisseur. Really like this one from Andy from Jackson's Jerseys, who's got this 2008 Penarol shirt. What a design. The first thing that jumps out is the Pirelli sponsor. Pirelli, who of course famous for sponsoring Inter, but it's really cool to see that on another team, to see that sponsor on another team. I love the Penarol badge and the colourway, and there's so much really about this, but a really collectible pickup. It's got a number on the back as well and another Pirelli sponsor on the back. So love that one. Very understated in terms of design, but I think it really does have a lot going for it. Even just the fact that on the front there you've almost got like a triple Puma logo. Unusual brand placement. So a lot to like about that one. Jurgen Voss flying in with a couple of Roby shirts here for Willem FC, and I think this is really great to see Roby, who are a Dutch brand I believe, and they're doing some really good stuff in the Netherlands. I would expect them to branch out, or hope to see Roby branch out, a bit like we see with Charlie in Mexico, as they've been starting to branch out in other countries. Roby have been doing a lot of good stuff in the Netherlands. I don't think they work with any other clubs outside of the country, I might be wrong on that. But really good to see these designs. That away is quite notable with the map pattern, which is very much in vogue at the moment. But good stuff there from Jurgen. Winks football shirts. Lovely photo of the Barcelona away shirt, which of course has been very popular in the community. When the light bounces off that dry fit ADV pattern, it really does elevate the shirt and showcase its true potential. Love this from James Sheldon, who picked up the very famous Juventus away shirt, the pink shirt, the Drake shirt for many people. Regardless of your thoughts on Drake, he really did catapult this shirt into the wider consciousness. And now many people who aren't even football shirt collectors or football fans will look out for this shirt. So it does command quite a premium. But great to see that pickup from James, and a nice name sit on the back. Another person here who bought the Ajax away shirt, this is Jason Connolly, and this again highlights the popularity of the Ajax shirt. We've already had a few people who picked it up. Also the Argentina shirt, the recent Argentina shirt. This one didn't really float my boat personally, but it looks good there on Jason, and I do think even the more out there Argentina shirts do have a timeless quality to them. This is fairly out there with that pattern, but Argentina shirts are always going to be solid. We've got Tortilla, a Concabola, who has picked up a couple of Boca shirts. We've got the Teamgeist, the retro Teamgeist shirt, which was recently released, and a new Boca home shirt, so you know how much I love Boca. And that Teamgeist shirt, even though it's quite unusual, I think it's a really fun item to the collection. And if you can pick it up, if you can pick those kind of shirts up for a good price, I think they do make for an interesting addition, even though they weren't worn on the pitch. Jake went all in with the fantastic green and gold Manchester United shirt. I can't remember the year, was it 91, 92, or was it later? I can't remember the year now. But of course this one is very evocative in terms of the colours and that laced collar, and there's much to be said about this one. And speaking of United and the Barca away shirt that we talked about before, Tom from Tom's Footy Kits, again seeing that Barcelona shirt in the dry fit ADV, it looks so good in the light. And it's no wonder that as soon as a couple of collectors start picking up a shirt and posting pictures, more people go for it. Yeah, for good reason. I think it is a really strong shirt. Tuto Atakato picked up a couple of Arsenal shirts, and he says here nothing special, but really cheap. If you can fill out your collection on this with a couple of cheap pickups, it's excellent. And I must say, I think the Arsenal Adidas partnership has been strong, and even just the home shirts have been really good. So nice additions there. FPL Wales is clearly aligned with me in terms of my recent what I'm buying video, because we've got the Inter third shirt from 2019 here, as well as a couple of newer pickups. We've got the Newport County shirt from Hummel. This is the away, I think. Really good bespoke design from Hummel. Kurt Tyson, or Thiessen, I'm sorry, I don't know how you say your name, Kurt, but we've got some thrift finds here from August, and this is great to see. So this is a great reminder to go out to thrift shops and charity shops. It's very hard, and I've been to so many and found so little, but a reminder from Kurt here to check them out. Talking of charity shops, Jack here has come up with a £4 find from the Brazil 2004 shirt, the Total 90 Brazil shirt, and for £4 you cannot argue with that. Really, really good to see, and that's a huge saving. Even though these Brazil shirts do pop up from time to time, they don't pop up for £4 unless you're in a charity shop. So great stuff, Jack. You guys are all having more success than me, but this is great, and this is what I love. We've had some of the matchworn shirts near the start of this discussion, and now we're coming to shirts which are picked up for the price of a coffee. It's really special. We'll have a few more as we close out. We've got Tottenham Matchworn Collector and Authenticator. This looks like, well, I assume it's going to be the shirt from the famous Ajax game. We've got hashtag iconic, I think it will be. I remember that game and this shirt, and as soon as that game kind of concluded, what was left of the shirt was snapped up on the replica market. I can't even imagine how much it cost to get hold of a shirt that was match worn from this game. A memorable game, an iconic game for Spurs, and I think this was actually probably for me the strongest of those Nike third shirts. Nike did this really interesting range of third shirts for their elite teams, and I actually really rated the Spurs one at the time, and I still do. And given the result against Ajax, the comeback against Ajax, it's only gone up in value over time. And we'll finish with a shirt that I talked about at the start in the Q&A section, the Aston Villa Hummel shirt from the 80s, and this is Match Days. An incredible design. Look at it in long sleeves. There's a reason I said this was my favourite claret and blue shirt of all time. Incredible find, incredible pickup. Really good to see those chevrons all the way down the sleeves, and just to see the colours. It's such an interesting colourway to have on that famous template. But great stuff from Match Days. I'm very jealous of that. And guys, there's many more. I'll stop it there because again, we could be here for another hour at least. Next time we do this, I'll try and get around some more people, maybe try and pick up some people who I didn't mention today. But thank you so much. It was really fun just to see people's additions, just to see some of these match-worn shirts, all the bargain pickups, stuff at either end of the spectrum. Hopefully this illustrates to you guys how diverse collecting is, whether you are on a tight budget or you're just picking up stuff from time to time, or whether you're looking after those memorable shirts from specific games or specific finals even. Football shirts are great at whatever level you're collecting at. So thank you to you for making this video. Thank you for your submissions. Next month, in a few weeks time even, I'll put out another post to ask about your additions for this month, for August and the last few weeks. And all being well, we'll do another what you're buying video alongside my what I'm buying video. Don't forget to leave a comment as well, and I'll answer a selection of my favourites in a future video. But that's just about it for today's episode. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you soon for another video.